Good morning, fam. So today I read the letter from James, and so James wrote to the the Jews that are dispersed throughout the land. He addresses it to the 12 tribes who are dispersed, basically. And what's interesting about that, at least for me when I was reading it this morning, was that it doesn't strike me as a letter that's written to Jews who at that time maybe were still focused on the law of God and following certain days and rituals and all of that kind of stuff. It's more practical. It's a book that says, listen, this is how you live your life as a Christian, and all the struggles that you're going to have, and the faith that you're going to need, and all this kind of stuff. And so it's really kind of a neat and refreshing letter from that perspective, because it shows that at this time when James was writing this letter to these folks, that they had gotten it. They had understood the message of Jesus and the gospel and how that changes your heart, and that is the key, is living a life that is full of wisdom, and not full of rules. And that is the point that struck me this morning, and that I just wanted to bring to you in this little hot take from the letter from James, is this idea of wisdom. He talks in there a lot just about the different challenges that we face in life, and all of that. But right at the very beginning in chapter 1 verse 3, he says, listen, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who will give generously and without reproach. And so the idea there, a little bit later in chapter 1, he says, listen, you don't have because you don't ask. And so, I think all of us, I think it's safe to say, we probably would like to have more wisdom, right? We would like to live our lives in a more godly way, in a more holy way. Wisdom is literally, it means skillful living. So it's applying the truth of God to real life situations that we're in every day. So, all the struggles that we deal with, all the challenges that we face, and we think, oh man, what should I do? Well, that's wisdom. That's looking at the problems of your life and the issues of today's world, through a biblical worldview, through the principles of the scripture. How do you do that? Well, James just says right from the get-go, just ask God. God will give you wisdom. The other thing that struck out to me is what is kind of this nature of wisdom? What does it look like? How does it feel like? Because I think oftentimes we think that, it's to live winsomely in this world, and it's to live in such a way that people are going to like you, and if they don't like you, they'll at least respect your position and all of that. And in James, let me find it. Let me show it to you, actually. Turn you around. Okay, so in James chapter 4, verse 4 at the top there, whoever wishes to be a friend of this world sets himself as an enemy of God. Well, why is that? Well, I think we find that in chapter 3, verse 17, where he describes what wisdom is. And he says, the wisdom from above is first pure, then it's peaceable, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruits, without doubting, without hypocrisy. The fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. And so the point there is that wisdom from above, as opposed to wisdom of this world, wisdom from below, is much different than the wisdom from below. We think, man, if you live a wise life, then you're going to be at peace with people, and you're going to be, like it says, they're knowledgeable, and all of that. Well, that's not the case, because he says the first thing that wisdom is pure. right? It's first pure. And when it says first, it's talking about in order, right? So if you are building, a wisdom tower, the bottom of it, the base of it is pure, meaning it has to be according to the scripture. If it's built on anything else, it's not wisdom. So those are my two takeaways, my two thoughts, that wisdom is much different than what we tend to think of it, and certainly what the world thinks of it. It is first pure, based on scripture. And second is, it's attainable. You just need to ask God, and he will give it to you generously and without reproof.